Namaste, everyone. I'm really very happy and joyous to see all of you here before me, and I acknowledge the presence of divine inside each one of you. Please join me in a small invocation. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om. So before we begin, I wish all of you a happy spring. And as you can see in the air, the moment we stepped inside the ashram, you could see the flowers blooming. And each bloom lifts our spirits high and fills us with so much of positivity, warmth, optimism. And I feel that this season can be an apt metaphor to look at our own spiritual growth. So just like all of these blooms are manifestation of a possibility or a seed that was there inside the ground, we have a seed or possibility or potential inside us to blossom into our divine selves. And as sadhaks, we understand that ये जो मनुष्य जीवन हमें प्रदान हुआ है, this human life that we have received is a bridge. It's a setu. It's a potential. It's a possibility for us to rise above our limitations and to bloom into our best selves. And like you sang in one of your bhajans, you mentioned about Bhakt Prahlad. So Bhakt Prahlad is an apt example of how amidst lot of turbulences and challenges a sadhak could bloom if he kept the faith alive. So you could aptly use the metaphor of a lotus for somebody like Bhakt Prahlad. A lotus blooms in mud. And similarly, being born in a family of a demon, asur, and yet showing the possibility that you could bloom and blossom into your most wonderful self if you kept that bhakti and faith intact within you. So we all have this seed inside us, and what we make of it is entirely up to us. And we have been given this human life as an opportunity for us to sow the seed, nurture it mindfully, and tend to it, fill it with sunshine and water. And if some of you have watched this movie or read Lord of the Rings, there was this quote by Gandalf to Frodo Baggins, where he inspires Frodo to say, all we have to do is to decide what to do with the time that's given to us. So this life from our birth, as long as we are here, this is an opportunity for us, this time. And we can make of it what we wish to make of it. And nothing is a failure. कुछ भी waste नहीं जाता है यहाँ हमारे जीवन में, हमारे जन्म में. So just like we celebrate spring and we enjoy the blossoms, we enjoy the blooms, but it does not exist in isolation. There was hibernation, there was winter before, there was darkness. So that also had a purpose. So similarly, हमारे जीवन में भी हर एक अनुभव, every experience in our life adds up to our blooming. Every challenge, every turbulence that we might be encountering, and we might often wonder, why is this happening to me, right? Especially when we are faced in that rock bottom situation, we are tempted to ask कि हमारे साथ ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. But you might agree that only when the seed breaks open is when it is able to sprout. So these situations, these storms, these turbulences that are coming in our life are opportunities or reminders to break us open so that we can bloom, we can sprout, we can blossom. And so that metamorphosis, transformation can happen inside us. Just like we see a caterpillar, and if we just let it remain what it is, it might never become a butterfly. So it has to go through that pain of metamorphosis. So all experiences, good and bad alike, turbulences, challenges, they help us break our shell and enable us to blossom. And a seed only sprouts when it has surrendered itself inside the soil, in the darkness of the soil. So when it dies to its former self is when it is able to take a rebirth. So Guru Gorakhnath and many saints say that, when you dissolve your ego, your identity, your belief of what you are, is when you are able to flourish, blossom. You tend to get more humble. So मरो हे जोगी मरो. मानव जन्म जो है बहुत दुर्लभ है, and it doesn't come to us all the time again and again. So as long as we have it, let us use it. Let us make use of it in the best possible way that we can. So I recently read a story of a woman who was a Zen pilgrim, and she was visiting various villages one after the other. And she happens to visit a certain village during sunset, and she needs some time to rest in the night, and she keeps knocking doors at every home, asking people to please allow me to rest for the night. And people were very afraid. It's frightening sometimes to see a seeker as magnificent as that lady was. And nobody allowed her to sleep at their home. So she went to, in the same village, she takes solace under a cherry blossom tree, and she tries to sleep that night. But it was slightly cold. It was the spring full moon night, and she's awakened. And when she looks up in the sky under the full moon and the sight of the cherry blossom, she turns towards the village. She looks at people in the village, and she folds her hands and thanks them for rejecting her, because it was only because they did not allow her to stay or rest at their place that she was able to see this magnificent splendor of cherry blossom, of this full moon, of the stillness of the night. So even if we are facing some rejection in our life, it is redirecting us to something that is grander and more magnificent, that's meant for us. And coming back to spring, I'm sure you have your childhood memories of going to your grandma's place. I do have memories like that, where I saw, there was this concept called Holi ki Safai. So have you heard something similar like that? So spring and autumn were seasons when people would be cleansing their homes. So, folding back what you were using for the winters and making space for the new. So again, this is another metaphor that we can make use of, letting go of, whatever is not relevant for us right now. And so decluttering ourselves, not just physically, not just tangibly, but also emotionally, and in today's times digitally as well. So letting go of whatever is not relevant at this point of time is a great message that the season is trying to teach us. And when we align ourselves to nature's rhythms, we feel more in tune. Tomorrow is spring equinox, which means that the days will start getting longer and brighter and warmer. And we just celebrated Holi just 2-3 days back here. So, all of these vibrant hues, colors, celebrations, these are all metaphors that are teaching us that we can, bloom in the way nature is blooming itself. And some themes from positive psychology that I can think of with respect to the season of spring is resilience, holding on, persevering, just like the seed is holding on. Every mighty oak that we see today was a nut that was stood on its ground. So, just holding ourselves to the ground and allowing time to, sprout and blossom. And there is so much of warmth, hope, optimism. When you listen to folk songs related to the season, you might find that Sakal Ban Phool Rahi Sarson, and Sarson, the mustard yellow flowers, also symbolize growth. So lots of plenty of songs like this we get to hear. So let us do a very small practice. We can all sit in a more relaxed position and just bring ourselves into this present moment. Just look around yourself and try to see few objects that you are able to see through your eyes. And you might name it to yourself, you might just label it to yourself. So you could see, you are seeing the flowers, you are seeing magnificent sight of our masters, this meditation hall. Just bring yourself into this moment here. Now try to bring your attention to the sounds that you are hearing right now. What are the various sounds that you hear? You might be listening to my voice, sweet songs of the birds. It sounds beautiful, right? Bring your attention to things that you're able to feel using your fingers, your sense of touch. What are you able to touch? The fabric, your clothes, the seat where you are seated. And what are you able to smell? What are you able to taste? Bring yourself to some of these experiences. And when you try doing this, it's bringing you here into this present moment. It's making you feel more mindful. So spring, the season, is a wonderful opportunity for us to experience mindfulness and come out of our dormancy. And like the mother says, every growth requires conscious effort. Every growth is painful, just like the seed breaks itself and goes through this pain. So you could remind yourself of what are some old patterns that you could shed right now. What are the things that are not serving you at this moment? What beliefs, what prejudices, what judgments are you holding at this moment that you could let go of? And Patanjali talks about a wonderful philosophy called aparigraha, which means letting go of things that are not serving us. So through decluttering and cleansing ourselves, we can also practice this philosophy. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita, we can see consistent theme of growth of a seed into a blossom. So whether it's these struggles that we are taking, Gita is providing us a map for spiritual evolution, and all the verses that Arjuna is listening from Sri Krishna is enabling him to blossom into his best self. So I would like us to come to the 10th adhyay of the Bhagavad Gita, where the expressions from Sri Krishna are beautiful poetry of his Virat Roop. Before revealing his Virat Roop in the 11th adhyay, Sri Krishna describes what he is. And let us read a few of these verses. So Arjun is asking, हे प्रभु, मुझे अपना जो विराट रूप है, आपके जो स्वरूप है, उसके बारे में विस्तार से बताइए. प्लीज़ टेल मी अबाउट योर स्वरूप इन डिटेल, बिकॉज द मोर आई हियर अबाउट यू, मेरी तृप्ति नहीं हो रही है. आई एम नॉट एबल टू गेट इनफ ऑफ लिस्टिंग अबाउट योर form, about yourself. So here are a few verses that I'd like to share. And Sri Krishna says, Aham atma gudakesha sarvabhutashaya sthitah aham adishcha madhyam cha bhutanamanta evacha. So हे अर्जुन, मैं सभी भूतों के हृदय में स्थित सबकी आत्मा हूँ, और संपूर्ण भूतों का आदि, मध्य और अंत भी मैं ही हूँ. So I am the essence or the soul that is prevalent inside every being. And I am the beginning, the end, and the in-between of each being. Adityanamaham Vishnu Jyotisham Raviransuman Marichir Marutasmi Tamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi. And then Bhagwan goes on to explain कि मैं अदिति के. So here through these sutras Krishna is telling हर चीज़ में जो सबसे उत्कृष्ट है, जो सबसे उत्तम है, जो सबसे आइडियल है, बेस्ट है, वो मैं हूँ. हम सभी के बीच जो हमारी परम संभावना है डिविनिटी को एम्ब्रेस करने की, वो भी वही हैं. एंड ही डिस्क्राइब्स दिस वेरी ब्यूटिफुली इन ऑल ऑफ दिस अध्याय. सो मैं अदिति के 12 पुत्रों में विष्णु और ज्योतियों में किरणों वाला सूर्य हूँ, और मैं वायु देवताओं का तेज और नक्षत्रों का अधिपति चंद्रमा हूँ. सो कृष्णा इज डिस्क्राइबिंग आई एम द अल्टीमेट इन एवरी एस्पेक्ट. सो among the Vedas he describes Vedanam Samavedosmi Devanam Asmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manaschashmi Bhutanam Asmi Chetana. Among the Vedas मैं सामवेद हूँ, देवों में इंद्र, और इंद्रियों में among the senses, सेंस ऑर्गन्स में मन हूँ, और समस्त भूत प्राणियों की चेतना अर्थात जीवन शक्ति भी मैं ही हूँ. So Bhagwan goes on describing, it's a very long, beautiful poetry, and I believe that we should keep revisiting this constantly again and again, so that it reveals deeper secrets to us. And there are very beautiful metaphors that Bhagwan uses here. For another instance, Aksharanam karosmi द्वंद्व सामासिकस्य च अहमेवाक्षयः कालो धाताहम विश्वतो मुखः. अक्षरों में मैं आकार और समासों में द्वंद्व नामक समास हूँ. सो इवन इन ग्रामर आई एम द मोस्ट ब्यूटिफुल alliterations and metaphors. And सब ओर से मुख वाला विराट स्वरूप, सबका धारण पोषण करने वाला भी मैं ही हूँ. And Brihat Sama Tatha Samnam Gayatri Chanda Samaham. So among the Shrutis, I am the Brihat Sam, and among the Chandas, the meters that we sing, I am the Gayatri Chand. Masana Margashishus Ham and Britunam Kusumakaraha. So among the months, I am the month of Margshish, and among the Ritus, among the seasons, I am the season of Basant. I am the season of spring. Right? So Bhagwan is describing that in various aspects, I am the juice, I am the major essence, I am the ultimate. So, and among the seasons, I am the season of the spring, which is coming in full blossom. So how can we embrace some of these themes of spring in our life? One way that I can understand is to embrace the change. So no season remains the same. Okay, so, and every winter is going to give way to spring, no matter how long. जितनी भी देर ठंड हो जाए, जितना भी लंबी काली रात हो, but the dawn will definitely show. So this can be a reminder to us that कोई भी challenging situation हो, any turbulence that we are going through, that will definitely change. It will not remain the same. So I remember another very small story which says, somebody asking their guru that, could you please give me a mantra that I could hold on to, which might be relevant to me even during the good times and during the bad times, which might make sense to me. And the guru then says, please remember, this too shall pass. And this is a mantra that's relevant even when you are going through a good time. Remember that this will pass. So it's not lasting, it is transient. So do not hold on to it for too long, or don't believe it to be permanent. Change is the way of life. And during your difficult times, remind yourself that this too shall pass. ये भी बीत जाएगा, ये भी चला जाएगा. So this season, this transition is trying to teach us this aspect of embracing the change. Also, we do have a tendency of remembering all the things that are not going on well, but here we could remind ourselves of the things that are going on well. जो अच्छा चल रहा है, उसके towards हम appreciative हों, हम grateful हों. And you might have followed the cycle of the moon, and you see that every 14 days the moon also comes to a state of waxing and waning. Even the moon does not remain static, does not remain the same. So we could align ourselves across seasons and be more in tune that sometimes there are periods of renewal, there are periods of rest, there are periods when we want to slow down. And then there is, if we hold on to it, if we persevere enough, if we stay in gratitude, in swadhyay, in sadhana, the seed is sure to bloom. So I'm also reminded of another beautiful story that we can use to understand that when the seed is sown inside the soil, it has to quit its ego, its original state of being. You might have heard the story of Lord Shiva, having heard that there is a Maharas going on in Vrindavan, and Shiva feels very tempted to attend it. And he comes down to Vrindavan and he's traveling by a river. And the Navik asks him, ki, aap kahan ja rahe, where are you going? And then Lord says, I'm going to the Ras, I'm going to meet Shri Krishna. And the Navik says, you seem too much of a man, and over there is a mandate that The Param Purush is only Bhagwan Shri Krishna, and you'll have to dress up as a woman if you want to dance. So, what do we do? My wife can share her clothes with you. And the story says that Shiva dresses up as a feminine form, as a woman. And then he comes, and there is a beautiful dance, there's a beautiful ras between Sri Krishna and Shiv. This is a metaphor that can speak to us that we can shed our ego of being what we are, and we can turn more feminine, we can turn more accepting, and that's when our seed can break and we can blossom, we can bloom more beautifully. Let us do a small practice to experience this blossoming of seed inside us. We could all be seated slightly comfortably. You could close your eyes if you feel like. You could take a few deep breaths. Bring yourself here grounded in this meditation hall, in this beautiful atmosphere. And as you take a few more deep breaths, you could place your hand on your heart. Place your hand on your heart and visualize a small seed lying dormant inside your heart. This is the potential, the manifestation of the divine that you have been carrying within you. It's always stayed with you. Imagine that you are feeding this seed with warmth, with light, with air, with hope, radiance, giving it all that it requires to bloom. As you nurture the seed, visualize that roots are coming from the seed and spreading all around. And as you take a few more deep breaths, you see your seed sprouting and growing. Feel yourself tending to it, nurturing it, handling it with care and gentleness. And you see small leaves growing out of the seed. You find flowers blooming out of the seed that you hold inside your heart. Please trust that your inner potential is meant to grow into a magnificent flower. You are a wonderful manifestation of the divine, and no experience that you are encountering currently is going wasted. Everything that you have been doing in your life has brought you to this space, into this communion of the Divine Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And everything is happening at the right time. Remember that all change is very painful, very hard in the beginning, and it is messy in the middle, but gorgeous in the end. So when you planted the seed, it might have met the mud, it might have met insects, worms, it might have seemed very messy. But when you look at these flowers blooming, everything starts to make sense to you. And as you sit silently, doing nothing, just being a witness of your own blossoming, you find that spring is coming and the grass is growing by itself. And I would like to read this beautiful sonnet by Sri Aurobindo as you hold on to this seed inside your heart. Please allow these words to reach within your heart. The miracle of birth. I saw my soul a traveler through time. From life to life, the cosmic ways it trod. Obscure in the depths and on the heights sublime, evolving from the worm into the God. A spark of the eternal fire it came, to build a house in matter for the unborn. The inconscient sunless night received the flame. In the brute seed of things, dumb and forlorn. Life stirred and thought outlined a gleaming shape, till on the stark inanimate earth could move. Born to somnambulous nature in her sleep, a thinking creature who can hope and love. Still by slow steps the miracle goes on, the immortal's gradual birth mid mire and stone. Thank you for your presence and your receptivity. And just like the earth is blooming in flowers, may the seed that we carry of the divine potential inside us bloom in our spiritual journey, and may we be able to share our fragrance with one another and be more in alignment with nature and more in tune with life. Thank you for listening to me.